Thank you. We are already living the future, said Richard Flanagan. The past, depending on where you live, can seem far away or quite close. If you live as I do, and some people on the stage do, in two worlds, well, that can do your head in. Because the past in a poor country is not so far away, and in a rich country seems so much further away. And last year, for me anyway, and for many of us in West Africa, the past, the future, and the present collided. I'm going to read two pieces. The first one is called Waiting. After the fourth day, the rats started to emerge in groups to die. They came up from the basements and cubbyholes, cellars and drains, in long, swaying lines. They staggered in the light, collapsed and died, right next to people. At night, in corridors and side streets, one could clearly hear the tiny squeaks as they expired. In the morning, on the outskirts of town, you would find them stretched out in the gutter with a little floret of blood on their pointed muzzles. Some blown up and rotting, others stiff with their whiskers still standing up. In the town itself, you found them in small heaps, on landings or in the courtyards of houses. They also came to die, one by one, in council offices, in schoolyards, sometimes on the terraces of cafes. Our fellow citizens were amazed to come across them in the busiest parts of town. The parade ground, the boulevards, and the seafront promenade were contaminated by them at intervals. Cleared of the dead animals at dawn, the town got them back in increasing numbers. The Plague by Albert Camus. September the 6th, 2014, 10:27 a.m. The following is a series of texts received from my cousin Molai in Sierra Leone. Ebola is spreading like wildfire in Harmattan. The situation is grave. Families are wiped out. Even elderly people raid us for food. What the government is saying is not what is happening. People are abandoned to die in hospital. Doctors are dying. People are quarantined without food. We are in trouble. We are dying like rats. Rats spread Ebola, bats, flying rats. They nested in the rafters of houses, and their contaminated piss and shit dropped onto the floors and the furniture of the people below. By tending to the sick, the humans contaminated each other. The virus killed the mothers and the wives. It killed the healers. It killed the nurses and the doctors. It killed the world's leading expert on hemorrhagic fevers, and it killed everybody in his research institute. On Facebook, someone posted a photograph of a corpse lying in the street outside his house. Blood bubbles from the man's mouth, a bright red floret of blood. The modern and the medieval collide. We communicate with our quarantined families by text. My mother lets all but one of the staff go. In the village, they sequester themselves and turn away strangers. The harvest ripens and then withers. No travelling teams of labourers arrive to help gather the rice. When a person dies, strange angels in white suits appear. At first, the people try to chase them away. Now they watch while the angels perform their rituals, cleansing the house and the corpse with chlorine. The angels stand in line and bow to the deceased and bear them away to a mass grave. On the internet each week, someone posts a roster of the dead. No names, just numbers. Every week I scan them to see how many dead in our locality. For a long time, help did not come. Then the rich country sent money, but it was too late. Here now was something new, a problem you couldn't buy your way out of. We needed doctors and nurses, but the rich countries didn't want to send theirs. For 3 months, the health of the entire world rested in the hands of a single aid agency. Doctors, nurses, and logisticians from the diaspora took leave of their jobs and, reverse refugees, headed towards the danger. A day in September, I reach Molai on the telephone. He's moving his children to the village from the city where the danger is worst. In Sierra Leone, we are used to being looked at without pity. Still, he is searching to understand why help is so long in coming. I tell him, people are tired of Africa and its problems. He says, this is not a problem of Africa's making. I tell him Islamic State is beheading American and British men and posting the videos on the internet. That's all the newspapers report, all anybody is talking about. So, we must wait for a white person to catch Ebola, he asks. Yes, I say. I can hear him breathe. Then we must only be patient. Writers are such natural-born pessimists. Certainly the toughest part of this assignment was the best possible scenario. And I think that if we have no more faith in our politicians, what we've done is transfer that faith to the scientists. I'm not sure the scientists necessarily feel that or all feel it, but that does certainly seem to be the way that the rest of the world's population is thinking, that someone is going to get us out of this, and that somebody is going to be science and the scientists. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do think that there's the possibility that science may offer us some joy. This is a short story called The Ibex. In the muted light, there are some bright objects. The steel bars, the dark glass of the observation room window. Here and there, the glint of a camera lens. A pool of liquid on the floor of the pen, the gleam of the animal's eye. His job here is to wait, and he is still waiting, even though his shift ended 15 minutes ago. In a back room, his replacement sleeps. But Sherif doesn't move. Instead, he waits and he watches. Out there in the darkness, something is massing into shape. For more than an hour, the animal has paced the length of the pen. In that time, she's neither eaten nor drunk, although he has made sure the trays of water and the vegetables are well supplied. At each end of the pen, she lowers her head and swings it in a semicircle to turn without ever breaking pace. Her great belly sways. Only in the recesses of his mind is Sherif aware of the firmness of the bench, the cool of the air, the weight in his bladder. He has seen this before, this pacing. When he was a boy, many years ago, his family kept animals. He knows what is coming. Ibex. He loves the majesty of the word, and she possesses a majestic beauty. It is in the ellipse of her eye, the rearward drift of her horns. In the next pen is her mate, whose own ridged horns arch more than 3 foot from the crown of his head. They are the first mating pair of their kind in more than 65 years. Sherif wonders if the mate next door senses what is happening. The waiting has gone on for weeks. The ibex bleats and halts. A camera adjusts focus, a blinking eye. Sherif straightens. For a few seconds, he doesn't breathe. He wishes there were more light. For her, he wishes the moon and a mountainside. He wonders if, in the part of the shared memory that travels down the generations and is born on instinct, she has any knowledge that such places exist. No Pyrenean ibex has walked those mountains for decades. If he led her to such a place, would she know how to find her way over the rocks to the water? Would she know which trees offered the best shelter, which plants were food, and which berries poison? The ibex drops to her knees and rolls onto her side. A luminescence. Something glimmers in the half-dark. It is beginning. If she succeeds, if she births a kid that lives, then they will try others, who knows? The Javan tiger, the Zanzibar leopard, a black rhino or a white rhino maybe. All those animals driven from the earth, held captive on the arc of extinction, might now return. Sharif stands up and then sits back down. There's nothing he can do. The ibex is silent. The gleam of the amniotic sac waxes and wanes, and it grows. It doesn't take so very long, maybe just 6 or 7 minutes. The rhythm remains unchanged to the end, and then the ibex is turning on herself, nudging and thrusting with her muzzle. Sharif places his palms against the glass and presses his forehead into it. Would she be doing this if the kid were not alive? He narrows his eyes, and then he sees, pale hide, a movement, the glimmer of a newborn's eye. Sharif should sleep, because sleeping or not sleeping will make no difference. Tomorrow he will know if the kid has survived the night, and then it must live the next day, and the day after that, and on. He curls on the hard bench and lies with his eyes open. It was at such times, Sharif thinks, that he used to pray. Thank you.